The Gunners are now second in the league after their comprehensive win over the Blades, where Eddie Nketiah grabbed a sensational hat-trick, which could have been 4 goals if it wasn't for his generosity handing the penalty to Fabio Vieira, which was a nice touch. But Eddie Nketiah, let's talk about Arsenal first of all,
Yeah.
Miles. 3 goals could have been 4. 3 goals that were each individually quite excellent from a finisher's point of view. He's been good when called upon, hasn't he? He's had some really good streaky performances of goals. So would you consider him competition for Gabriel Jesus as a starter? Or is he always destined to be the backup now, do you think? Because that was an impressive performance from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. And it's good because Nketiah seems to have this record recently of kind of 1 in 2 when he starts games. And that is a really consistent thing from a squad player. That's what you kind of want in those situations where your main striker is out injured. And we know that obviously Jesus missed a large portion of last season and looks to be out for a while now. So this is his chance to cement his place again. There's obviously a lot of faith in him at Arsenal because they decided to move Balogun on instead of him this summer. Obviously, last summer, we go back to when they offered him that bumper new deal and gave him Thierry Henry's shirt number. So clearly, Arteta trusts Nketiah a lot. And he proved why in this game. This is someone that we know is an out-and-out finisher, a bit of a poacher. We saw it at international level for the under-21s consistently. And when he plays for Arsenal, in games like this, you do expect him to find himself on the score sheet. There is a bit of a criticism that he kind of goes missing against slightly bigger opposition. And let's be honest, Sheffield United didn't put much of a fight against him in this game, as you mentioned. But the nature of his goals will be really pleasing to Arteta because it did show a confidence that you don't necessarily expect from someone who is normally second choice.
Yeah, I think that's the thing where I always question whether he was actually good enough to be an Arsenal player, because Gabriel Jesus is such a good player, and that front line has been so formidable for them over the last 12 months or so, hasn't it, as they've competed for the title. There's always the question mark as to whether a backup, is it too big of a drop-off from Jesus to him? And I think with the way he took his goals in this game, particularly the first goal and the third goal as well from distance was fantastic. The composure, the speed, the power of the shot were all signs of a really talented finisher. So I think for me, it's proved that maybe the drop-off in quality isn't as big as I thought, and that actually as a backup, he's pretty up there, isn't he, with some of the best backups in the league as a forward? Because we say that the key to many teams performing or not is whether they've got good number 9s, and he's a very good number 9, isn't he?
And it's always hard, isn't it, to get the balance right between depth and kind of having the right level of player to come off the bench, because you have to be happy to be second choice. And we've had that conversation so many times about other sides. You look at Spurs with Harry Kane for the longest time. It's hard to get someone who's willing to sit on the bench, but is up to the quality that if you need them consistently, then they are good enough. But I think the reason that Arsenal can get away with that with Nketiah is because he's such a different player to Jesus. And actually, it's not necessarily about one of them being the main man. It's one of them being right for a particular match, and that can change. And Arteta's spoken about that quite openly this season with other parts of his squad, obviously, that some players are better suited to certain game plans. Whereas Jesus is able to link really well with the wide players and drift out wide himself and look to get on the ball a lot more. We saw in this game, the strength of Nketiah's game is his instinct and his willingness to just finish it first touch or second touch, as we saw, particularly for his first goal. Outstanding first touch before his finish. It was really impressive. The second goal, his movement is excellent in the box. He loses the defender so well, and he's ready to pounce on an error. And then the third goal is a completely different kind in itself. So he's a very well-rounded finisher, and I don't think you'd necessarily say the same thing about Jesus. There's a lot of complaints from Arsenal fans sometimes that he isn't the most natural goal scorer, but is their number 9, and that can be a difficult balance in itself. But yeah, it's a great option to have.